It was a foggy night in Chamonix when a lone gunshot echoed through a rented chalet and the life of Alexandre Stavisky ended, or so the official story would say. What followed over the next weeks would unravel into one of France's most explosive interwar scandals, a crime story that read like a political thriller and exposed how corruption, patronage, and fear of exposure can topple a republic. Alexandre Stavisky was no ordinary fraudster. By January 1934, he had fashioned himself into a gentleman financier, velvet collars, cultured manner, and uncanny talent for selling confidence.
Next, please.
Here you are.
Thank you. Next.
This one.
Very well.
For years, he operated a sprawling con based around municipal pawnshop bonds and sham companies, most notoriously through the Crédit Municipal of Bayonne. He sold securities that appeared secure, backed by municipal stamps and pawnbroker receipts to bankers, politicians, and ordinary savers. The paper was largely worthless. When investigations closed in, documents suggested that the scheme had been extensive and that powerful figures had profited or colluded. The first jolt came not with the discovery of fraud, but with the perception of protection. Arrests that should have come sooner were delayed. Prosecutors hesitated. Names whispered in police records linked Stavisky to magistrates, mayors, and members of the political class. In January 1934, as investigators finally drew near, Stavisky fled Paris. Days later, his body was found in that Alpine chalet, a bullet in his skull, a revolver at his side, and a story that smelled of too many convenient omissions. Official investigators declared suicide. Newspapers and opposition politicians declared murder. Photographs of the scene showed footprints and a gun placed awkwardly near his hand. Reports suggested that the chest wound was inconsistent, that the back had been bruised, that telephone logs and police files had been altered. The right-wing press seized on these irregularities, alleging a cover-up. Stavisky had been silenced to stop him naming his protectors, judges, police chiefs, and government ministers implicated in the embezzlement. That allegation struck at the heart of the Third Republic. Public fury fermented into organized outrage. On 6 February 1934, veteran protest leagues, nationalist and royalist groups long resentful of the parliamentary system converged on Paris. What began as demonstrations outside the Chamber of Deputies became a violent confrontation with police. Under the tangle of baton, stones, and gunfire, the streets turned lethal. Dozens were injured, several demonstrators and policemen died, and Parliament's credibility crumbled. The government of Edouard Daladier fell within hours. Historians still argue over precise responsibility. Was Stavisky murdered by agents who feared exposure, or did a desperate conman take his own life? The investigation was plagued by partisan interference. Evidence vanished. Witnesses contradicted one another. The state's chaotic response, dismissals, shady transfers, public denials, fueled the conspiracy narrative more effectively than any direct proof could. For many on the right, the affair proved the Republic was rotten. For liberals and the left, the riots signaled a dangerous flirtation with authoritarianism. Beyond the immediate political fallout, the Stavisky Affair reshaped French politics. It discredited established parties, strengthened anti-parliamentary movements, and deepened polarization that would haunt France through the 1930s. It demonstrated a grim arithmetic. When institutions appear to protect the powerful and conceal the truth, public trust collapses and violent alternatives gain traction. The core crime was simple, a massive financial fraud, but the real scandal lay in what followed. The network of influence that buffered a criminal, the halting and partisan investigations, and a state that could not convincingly account for itself. Whatever the exact truth of the chalet that foggy night in Chamonix, the consequences were unmistakable. A dead conman, a ruined reputation for France's political class, and a nation that felt its democracy had been betrayed. The Stavisky Affair remains a cautionary tale, a record of how corruption can metastasize into a crisis when power, secrecy, and fear collide.